This is lesson 1-2 for my 4th period class. You need to take out your note packet and we want to fill these in as we go. Here we are going to be studying adding and subtracting decimals, and our main objective is to add and subtract decimals and to do mental math using the properties of addition. So the first thing we'll start off with are some key concepts that we want to keep in mind, or our main ideas. Basically, that's another way to say key concepts. Okay, so here are our properties of addition. The identity property of addition tells us that the sum of 0 and A being any number, is A, or that number. Okay, so for example, if I put 5.6 plus 0, I get 5.6. If I say A plus 0, I still get A. So adding 0 to any number just gives you that number right back. That's what the identity property of addition tells us. Okay. Our next property is the commutative property of addition. Notice there is no N in the word. It's commutative property of addition. That tells us that changing the order of the addends does not change the sum. Okay. If you don't recall, addends are simply the numbers in an addition problem. The sum is the answer to an addition problem. So that's why we use those words there. We do want to use the appropriate math terms. Okay, if I want to look at this with numbers, instead of saying 1.2 plus 3.4, I could just say 3.4 plus 1.2. It is okay to change the order there. I would still get the same answer. Similarly, I have B plus A here on the right-hand side of this equation. That could also be written as A plus B. Doesn't matter, you'll still get the same answer. And that's what the commutative property tells us. Our third property that we will be using is the associative property of addition, and that tells us that changing the grouping of the addends does not change the sum. Okay, and grouping is often represented by parentheses, as we can see here. The quantity 2.5 plus 6, and I say the quantity because those are set inside a set of parentheses, plus 4 would give me the same answer, or is equal to 2.5 plus the quantity 6 plus 4. Sorry. Algebraically, I could say the quantity A plus B plus C is equal to A plus the quantity B plus C. Okay, so the fact that they are grouped differently, different members inside the parentheses, is not going to change the final answer here. Okay. Now we'll use these to help us do some of the addition problems, particularly when we try to do some mental math or some shortcuts. So we'll use those along the way. The other focus of this lesson is adding decimals. So if we want to, let's go ahead to example number 1. Find 2.15 plus 7.632 plus 16.5. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and estimate so that we know approximately what our answer should be by the time we're finished. So we will round each of these to the nearest whole number. So this 2.15 gives us the 2. The next number, 7.632, gives us 8. 16.5 gives us 17. Or, when I add them together, 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 17 is 27. Okay, so my estimate is 27. Now, when I get ready to start adding, the first thing that's important is we do want to stack I call it stack, you might say line them up vertically. The main thing that you want to remember is to align the decimal points. Align is another word for line up the decimal points. Then you're going to insert zeros so that each add-in has the same number of decimal places. So you see that we've added 1 0 here, and there have been 2 zeros added here. So now that each number, each add-in has 3 places behind the decimal point. Once you've done that, you're ready to start adding. Remember, we add from right back to left. So 0 plus 2 plus 0 is 2. 5 plus 3 is 8. 6 plus 1 is 7, and 5 is 12. So remember, you write down the 2, carry the 1 over. So 6 and 7 is 13, plus 1 is 14, plus 2 is 16. Write down the 6, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So my digits are 2, 6, 2, 8, 2. Now I look and I see my decimal point should come straight down, so it needs to end up between the 6 and the 2. So my answer is 26.282. Since 26.282 is close to 27, the answer is reasonable. Okay, what the estimate can help you determine is not necessarily if you have the right answer, but just to see if your answer is pretty close. All right. I'm going to skip the quick check for now. After I finish the notes, I'm going to ask that you come back and do the quick checks. Or at this point, you might want to pause and do the quick check question right now. I'm going to go straight ahead with the notes. You may pause if you want to. Okay, so if you'll turn the page, we are now looking at example number 2. Example number 2 has us subtracting decimals. Okay, so you have 5.08 minutes left on a CD. How much time will you have left after you record a 2.5 minute song? Okay, it doesn't ask us to estimate here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because I think it's a good idea. I'm going to round each of these to the nearest whole number, so 5.08 is 5. 2.5 would round to 3. I subtract, so that should give me, my answer should be somewhere around 2, okay? Again, it's not an exact answer, just an estimate. Okay, when I get ready to set up the problem, I want to first stack my numbers, align the decimal points, that means line them up, remember, and insert means to add zeros so that each one of these has 2 digits behind the decimal point. Okay, then you're going to have to regroup in order to subtract that. That's another name for borrowing. Both names are appropriate, so you might have heard one or both of them. Okay, I can do 8 minus 0. 8 minus 0 is 8. In order to subtract 0 minus 5, I have to borrow from the 5. So I go to the 5, mark it out, and I leave 4 behind. I carry the 1 over here and the 0, mark out the 0. I now have the number 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. And 4 minus 2 is 2. Okay. Again, I want to bring my decimal point straight down into my answer. So according to this, I will have 2.58 minutes left on the CD. And that's fairly reasonable because I see that my estimate was around 2. Okay, so that tells me that does not guarantee that my answer is correct, but it sure helps me know if I'm at least in the ballpark. Okay, really what it helps a lot with is being sure that your decimal point ends up in the same or in the correct location. Number 3, we want to use mental math to find 2 tenths plus 15.7 tenths plus 3.8 tenths. What do you think? I should look for compatible numbers, numbers that work together easily and that we can use in our head that add up to a whole number. The sum of 0.2 and 3.8 is 4. Then add 4 and 15.7 for a total of 19.7. Okay, so that's just thinking through it. We'll also look through it in detail down here to see why this works. Okay, so what I really did, I started out 0.2 plus 15.7 plus 3.8, and I changed the order so that I would think of the 0.2 and the 3.8 would be closer together. That is the commutative property. The commutative property of addition. Okay, then because I wanted to add those two numbers together, I inserted parentheses, either mentally or physically, but that's associating them, making them group together to give me the number 4. And then finally, that's adding within the parentheses to get the 4. And then finally, I can simplify. 4 plus 15.7 is 19.7. Okay, that's all I have for the notes. Remember, you can always pause and replay any part you might want to. What I'd like you to do is do the 3 quick check questions. You have questions 2 and 3 on this page. Question number 1 is on the previous page. Have those ready for discussion in class tomorrow so that we can go over them and have a starting point. Thank you very much.